You know that feeling when everything just clicks? Your mind is sharp, your mood is steady, your body feels like it's firing on all cylinders. That's not luck, that's what your body is capable of every single day. Now, I've looked into a lot of fish oil supplements, and honestly, most of them are mystery-sourced, over-processed, blasted with heat, and packed with synthetic add-ins. But this one is different. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health starts with wild Alaskan salmon and cod, sustainably caught from some of the cleanest waters on the planet, and then it's processed at low temperatures to preserve what actually matters. We're talking about real omega-3s, naturally occurring vitamins A and D, and pro-resolving mediators, or PRMs, that help your body balance its own immune response. What does that mean for you? Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and real nature-based support for your heart and immune system. No shortcuts, no synthetic nonsense. And it was developed by Dr. Jeffrey Bland, a true pioneer in the world of complementary health. If you want to feel the difference, go to bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and use code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Once you feel it, you'll know. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman, my favorite time of the week because we kind of have a free-form podcast today, which is our weekly Q&A with Leyla. Now, the way it works is you send questions or you send comments. Perhaps we talk about something. You may have an experience with a supplement or medical condition. Maybe you want to share with us a remarkable cure. Or maybe you simply have a question about some medical conundrum. Send it to questions@drhoffman.net. With me today is Leyla Muedin, who is our resident nutritionist. And together we kind of do a duet every week called Q&A with Leyla. And so, welcome, Leyla. How you doing?
All right, Dr. Hoffman. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm spending the month on the beach, but
Lovely.
through the miracles of electronic communication, I'm able to do all the stuff that I usually do. I record my radio program, I record my podcasts, I write my articles, and, I'm having a lot of time.
Remote. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be alive. Being able to do it that way instead of travel to the place.
Exactly. Well, I have to say that I've been coming out to the beach in the summer for decades. And in the old days, when I had my radio show, I used to pay a guy who lived on my street to drive me into the city and hang out and wait while I did my radio show in the studio. And the advantage of having a guy to drive me, I mean, he was just a neighborhood kid, was that I was able to sit in the back of the car and write my articles and prepare my show, do my show prep.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so,
good.
But that's how sketchy the communication was before. So literally I would have to go to a studio to record it. And now I can record my show remotely from my home studio. And so it's quite good. So on a given morning, like this morning, before it started to pour rain, I was able to go to the beach and take a nice open water swim. On alternate days, I can ride my bike, or in the garage, I've got some exercise equipment. I've got a TRX. I've got some weights. I've got some bands, and I can do, an exercise routine. So, it's all good. It's like kind of like training camp, summer training camp.
And the beach. That's great.
And the family is here. And so every night, everybody takes the responsibility of planning, shopping, and preparing a meal. So we get, a lot of
you get
variety.
To break it up. It's not always you, right? Yeah.
It's a lot of variety. And everybody is, you're trying to outdo each other in terms of, so we've been eating pretty nicely out here.
Beautiful meal. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
So anyway, before we get to questions at drhoffman.net is the destination for questions. We're going to take some questions. I wanted to comment on an article that you wrote
Mm-hmm.
for this week's newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the familiar theme of heredity versus environment. In other
Yes.
words, when it comes to developing a disease, are you
Mm-hmm.
fated
Mm-hmm.
inevitably to develop a disease because perhaps you've
Right.
had family history? And your answer is kind of a message of hope, which is that it ain't necessarily so. That
Yeah.
yes, genetics plays a role, but as
Mm-hmm.
is so often said, and I think you quote this in your article, the genetics loads the gun, but
Yeah.
environment and lifestyle pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And you could have a loaded gun that never goes off.
Never goes off.
If you restrain yourself from pulling the trigger or
Right.
allowing
Right.
external circumstances to pull the
Yeah.
trigger. So, that's the theme of the article. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting. So uh, we know that this is the case. We know that for
Yes.
certain diseases, it is very, very strongly inherited. I think there are conditions like sickle cell anemia. There
Sure.
are conditions
Yeah.
like Huntington's disease. And
Yeah.
there are many genetic diseases. In fact, there's a whole branch of medicine, uh, genetics,
Yeah.
where you see a geneticist. Sometimes if
Mm-hmm.
you're planning a pregnancy and you know that you have a family history of something or you have a medical condition, you want to find out,
Yeah.
what's the likelihood that your offspring is going to suffer that same problem? Or you
Mm-hmm.
may want to genetically test your partner or get yourself tested, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera. But uh, it is the exception rather than the rule that these things are strongly determined. We have, when it comes to some of the major diseases, heart disease and diabetes
Mm-hmm.
and cancer, we have what are
Many of our
called,
chronic diseases,
the
we have more
chronic
control
diseases.
than we believe.
Yeah, they have what you have polygenic risk scores. In other words, not one gene usually
Yeah.
causes the disease 100%. And even in
Mm-hmm.
cases where there is a gene, like the BRCA gene, it will increase your risk of breast cancer, but lifestyle can mitigate that. Let's put it that way. It's not
Yes.
going to entirely reduce your risk, but it will
Yeah.
moderate your risk. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, there's the ApoE4 gene,
Yep.
and so what we've discovered is that people who have one of two hits, they're what is called
Mm-hmm.
heterozygous, they have a somewhat higher risk. People have a double hit, they have a much higher risk. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the ApoE44 genotype,
Which can also be mitigated.
which can also be mitigated. And by the way, the new news, and I
Uh-huh.
did this on my radio show, and, perhaps I'll share the article with you if you haven't already seen it, is that, we used to think that if you had that gene, you had to go on an ultra, ultra, ultra low fat diet, that you would
Yeah.
do best on a plant-based diet.
Right.
It
The
actually
old days.
turns out the opposite. Turns out the
Yeah.
opposite is that, and this was a surprise to researchers, a relatively high meat diet
Yes.
mitigated risk,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
interestingly. And they say, well,
Very
why
true.
should that be? Well, why do humans have this gene? Is this a mistake, like a bad glitch and mutation that somehow
Yeah.
we've retained? Well, usually bad mutations get selected out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thought is that ApoE4 arose when humans got out of the trees. We were tree dwelling primates, and we primarily ate fruits and leaves and shoots and things like that. And then we developed
Herbivores.
the ability to develop bigger brains and bigger bodies because we were able to become carnivores.
Yeah.
And then we obliterated
We upped our protein.
the
Mm-hmm.
large mammals that used to inhabit most of Europe and North America. And,
Yeah.
we no longer have giant mastodons and mammoths anymore because they were actually hunted into oblivion by our ancestors tens and tens of thousands of years ago. Anyway, so fast forward to this, if you have a parent or parents or family history of a certain disease, what's the inevitability of having
Mm-hmm.
certain conditions? And they've actually calculated this. And
Mm.
again, these numbers, results may vary. These
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
averages.
Certainly. Certainly.
So when it comes to one of the most potentially inheritable diseases, Alzheimer's disease
Mm-hmm.
is up there at 32%. Okay.
Okay.
But then again, if you have a parent or two parents with Alzheimer's disease, you have a substantially higher risk, but you also have a 66% chance of not having Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
Right. Or actually, in this case, 68%. When it comes to dementia, yes, there is a predisposition to dementia. It's 25%. There are actually some surprises here. One of the most heritable conditions is asthma. And if you have two parents with asthma, you have about a 50% chance of developing asthma.
Wow.
If you have one parent with asthma, it's about 25%. So asthma is one of the most heritable diseases. Migraine is up there at 27%. And some of you may be nodding your heads there. You may be saying, "Oh yeah, I have a parent who has migraines, and I had migraines." Again, shaped by circumstances. And one of the most interesting ones is obesity. It turns out that estimates vary, but they say that the obesity predisposition, that's an important word we're going to come back to, 40 to 70%. 40 to 70%. But that does not mean that if you have an overweight parent or both parents overweight, that you are 40 to 70% more likely to be overweight. Why? Because our genes have not changed that much in thousands of years. And people 10,000 years ago had the same genes. And the incidence of obesity was not 60%. And only recently has it been that way since maybe the 20th century.
Yes.
So that's about environment.
What we're eating is completely different than we've eaten not only over the past 10, 12,000 years ago, but millions of years. So I heard some doctor on YouTube say, our current diet, meaning our current diet over the last 100, 150 years, is actually bizarre.
Yeah, it is. It is right. It is no way that nature could have anticipated the curveball that we threw at it when we completely altered our diet from what we evolved with. Here's actually some surprises. There's some conditions that I found surprising in terms of the likelihood. Prolapsed uterus or prolapsed bladder, pelvic organ prolapse, 27.8% inheritability. So there's actually inheritability about that, which is actually higher than the predicted risk for stroke. If you have a parent who had a stroke, it's only 14% inheritability.
But wait, Dr. Hoffman, my grandmother, who birthed 7 children, after all that, she had a prolapsed uterus.
I would say having 7 children is a risk factor for prolapsed uterus, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right. And, I guess you not have having any children are at lower risk, and you didn't inherit that. Okay.
It's not happened, knock wood.
Exactly. And, here's one that's interesting is, my mother had pretty severe rheumatoid arthritis. My father did not. So it says 21.2% likelihood of heritability. Well, I have, knock wood.
Yeah.
I'm knocking wood here. I have not a tinge of rheumatoid arthritis and barely any osteoarthritis.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Hoffman, may I also add that you don't eat likely the way your mother did.
Right. But
they didn't know any better.
Other factors. I mean, she had a lot of stress, but she also had an exceedingly low level of vitamin D. When I checked her, the first time we got around to checking her, vitamin D was 7.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's an emergency.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, that certainly predisposes to autoimmunity. So, heart disease. Here's one. Heart disease. 21.6%. So what goes into that? Well, inflammatory genes, genes that drive your cholesterol up, genes that are associated with obesity, hypertension, coagulability. There's a lot of things that go into that equation. And, maybe, 100 or more genes have an impact on your risk of heart disease. And some of them, you can kind of unload the gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
with the lifestyle. Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
so here's actually this is another estimate on the other side that looked at environmental risks
Mm-hmm.
and, sort of the things that pull the trigger. And worldwide, they calculate the percent of global deaths due to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think is the number one thing that is associated with percent of global? It's responsible for nearly 6 million annual global deaths.
Accidents?
Accidents? No. Um,
Drug
I'm talking.
overdoses?
Hey,
Oh.
I'm talking about environmental things. Accidents,
Oh,
war.
okay.
I don't think they include accidents or warfare.
Okay. Okay.
You got it. You get a second guess.
Yeah. Heart disease.
Well, no, but we're talking environmental factors.
Oh, environmental factors. Okay. Poor diet, poor lifestyle,
Yeah, well,
or
but
maybe smoking,
specifically,
drinking,
specifically,
smoking,
it's tobacco smoking. It's
tobacco. Okay.
11%. And
I
then
finally got there, Dr. Hoffman. Oh, my.
you get, when are you getting recredited for your nutrition degree? Don't you have to okay,
Yeah. I'm doing continuing ed. I know.
okay. So then, but interestingly, right behind that is indoor
Uh-huh.
smoke. Now, indoor smoke
Oh,
is not that much of a thing in the
secondhand
United
smoke,
States.
like? Yeah.
I mean, I stand a lot at the barbecue grill a lot, so maybe I'm getting a fair amount of that. But usually I do grill outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but a lot of people use, they have hearths. They have, smoky fires
Fireplaces.
indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's about 7% of global deaths. That's 3.5 million deaths per year. And then down, 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 secondhand smoke, 601,000 deaths. Interestingly, diets low in polyunsaturated fats are thought to cause 500,000 deaths per year.
Oh, I'd like to look at that.
Low
Diets low in polyunsaturated fats causing death, meaning not enough,
not enough omega-3.
PUFAs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not enough
All right.
omega-3
I'm
probably.
also thinking of plant oils and things like that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what they're
Okay.
talking about. Diets high in trans fatty acids, over 500,000 deaths per year.
Okay.
Interesting. I don't really believe this. They actually say about 100,000 deaths per year worldwide. It's less common in the United States due to zinc deficiency.
Wow.
Anyway,
Wow,
so
that's
these are
interesting.
factors. These are factors.
Okay.
So, but,
Okay.
they also don't, in this compilation, account for the effects of an ultra-processed diet.
Absolutely.
And I think if they looked at that they now think that may eclipse smoking as a cause of premature death.
I would believe it. I mean, think about, say a person is doing a perfect diet, very clean, but they're smoking, as opposed to the person who's having, what did I hear some DJ say? A donut sandwich and a bucket of flan every day or something like that. I'm thinking that processed food is going to be worse.
Wait a minute. Don't knock flan. Flan is good.
I won't knock flan. I know it's delicious.
And I also like creme brulee.
Yes.
I like me a creme brulee here and there.
I do too.
Although it is a calorie bomb, and probably have it about 3 times a year.
I'll have a tiramisu once and again. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's hard to pass up. All right. So anyway, so good stuff. Great article. And, I just thought I'd flesh it out a little bit and explain to people because, I think people are so scared by the concept of heritability of disease. And
Exactly.
I think your article put it in context is that there's no inevitability. Don't just throw up your hands.
Yeah. And I've heard too often in my practice, Dr. Hoffman, well, there's diabetes in my family. It looks like I've got it too, or I'm on the way. And that becomes a very long conversation, a very illuminating conversation for the client.
Right.
And they walk away from that very happy. No. This is what you need to do.
Yeah, that's just a warning sign. That's just, you got to, you may have what are called thrifty genes, genes which are present to protect us against starvation, which enable us to store fat more readily and make it more difficult to lose weight. and more easy to accumulate weight as a hedge against future famine, which in modern times never comes.
Right. Exactly. Depending on what part of the world we're living in, right? And the other thing about I have diabetes in my family, it's in my genes, that kind of thing, besides that education conversation about, no, you don't have to ever go there. And here's why. And guess what? You could reverse it. You don't have to just manage it depending on where you're at. Certainly a type 1 or a very, very late stage, the pancreas is pooped. It's not, making insulin. That's
there
a different
you have
story.
to take insulin.
Yeah. But, for a majority of the population with diabetes, they are able to reverse it if they want to.
Indeed.
It's possible.
So let us allow one of our sponsors, let's take care of business here. TCB, take care of business, and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with us, and then we can turn to our questions of the week. Questions come to questions@drhoffman.net. Let's hear that announcement from one of our sponsors. You know that feeling when you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep, when you push through your day running on empty, wondering where your energy went? Here's something most people don't know, that fatigue may actually be happening inside your cells. That's why I've been using anti-factor lipids powder from Nutritional Therapeutics for years. I don't go a day without it. It's based on over 20 years of research and a patented process called membrane lipid replacement, which actually repairs the damaged components of your cell membranes, restoring your cell's ability to produce energy the way they did when you were younger. Clinical studies show anti-factor can reduce fatigue by up to 40%. Just 1 or 2 scoops a day. Mix it in a smoothie like I do, sprinkle it on food, and you're giving your body the science of youthful energy. Anti-Factor Lipids Powder comes in 2 convenient sizes. For more information and to order, just call 800-982-9158, 800-982-9158, or go to antifactor.com. That's antifactor.com for Anti-Factor Lipids Powder.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now, let us start with this week's questions. What do we got in the mailbox, Leyla?
This comes from Caroline. Hi, Dr. Hoffman. This article, which she sent, states that nattokinase can reduce plaque, as do statins, but 3 times more effectively. Is there any truth to this? Would it be a good idea for me to take natto along with my statin with the goal of reducing cholesterol and existing plaque? The article, and this is actually by somebody who's been on the internet a long time, Truth, Sovereignty, Wellness.
Yeah, he's been a guest on Intelligent Medicine, Sayer G.
Yeah, Sayer G. They ran nattokinase against the statin and the enzyme won. A landmark randomized trial put a fermented soybean enzyme, natto, head-to-head with simvastatin. And on one of the measures that predicts heart attack and strokes, the pennies-a-day enzyme shrank plaque more than 3 times as much as the drug. So, this is something.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the deal. There are many factors that contribute to a heart attack, ultimately. There's not just your cholesterol level, but inflammation, fibrinogen, the stickiness of the plaque, and also...
And natto chews through the fibrin.
Yeah.
That's how that works, as opposed to the
It's
statin.
a fibrinolytic enzyme, okay? And so I don't know whether it's more effective than a statin. I'd have to see that study. I would want to also look at what they're looking at, because they may be looking at some aspect of atherogenesis. But at the end of the day, what we need is compare 20 years of taking a statin versus 20 years of taking a nattokinase. And then we could say, is one superior to the other, or are they equivalent?
Well, here's the thing, and this is what Sayer talks about. So in this study, they were taking 20 milligrams a day of simvastatin, right? That's your standard dose. And nattokinase, they were taking 6,000 functional units a day. And the ultrasound showed at the end of the study, the plaque size in the nattokinase group was down 36.5%, whereas the plaque size in the statin group was down 11.5%. So what he's saying is the enzyme beat the drug by more than 3 to 1.
I got a problem with that.
On the thing that clogs arteries.
I got a problem with that, is that I don't really see plaque regressing with statins at all.
Right.
Plaque may be stabilized with statins, but it doesn't make plaque go away or dissolve it. And so there's something a little bit funky about that study.
This next part may explain that.
Okay.
Statin did win on cholesterol, he says.
Oh, sure.
Simvastatin dropped LDL.
And by the way, nattokinase will drop cholesterol a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Simvastatin dropped LDL, total cholesterol, and triglycerides harder than nattokinase did. If lowering LDL were the same thing as treating atherosclerosis, the premise of the last 40 years of cardiology, the statin group should have had less plaque.
Right.
But they had more than 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, if that's true, it does show, at very least, it shows some plausible mechanism of action of nattokinase versus a statin. But I think that they're perfectly compatible together. I don't see why people can't take a statin and take nattokinase and take other things. Let's think of all the things, fish oil for sure.
Right.
And also, maybe something like grapeseed extract, make a natural BP grapeseed extract, or pycnogenol, which is kind of equivalent, or even olive leaf extract, which is also beneficial for arteries. You could take benfotiamine. I'm sorry, what's the thing with a B? The bergamot. Sorry.
The bergamot. Bergamot is good.
Yeah.
Sayer does say, I just want to come back to this a moment, Dr. Hoffman. He says, nattokinase did one more thing the statin couldn't. It significantly raised protective HDL.
That could be.
So that's something.
That could be. Yeah, because generally statins lower HDL.
Yeah. Then the researchers, this is the last thing I'll say. The researchers then checked whether nattokinase's plaque regression tracked with its cholesterol lowering. It didn't.
Okay.
The plaque melted away through a mechanism that had essentially nothing to do with the LDL number.
I have a problem with that plaque melting away. I'd have to look at that study. I didn't get a chance to. But,
it's a Chinese study.
I'd be fine with that. One or the other or both together ultimately reduce the risk of a heart attack or stroke.
Right.
That would be, the thing.
Yeah. I would imagine taking both. You get, double bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Caroline. So, I think that would be a good thing.
Just let me mention parenthetically, and we talk a little bit about Lp(a), so they're soon to release drugs that will help to lower Lp(a). Also, on the cholesterol front, one of the limitations of these powerful PCSK9 drugs that just obliterate your cholesterol, these are really for people who have super high cholesterol, or who had a heart attack, or who don't tolerate statins. They have to be injected. They're very expensive. And so they're now coming up with a pill, a PCSK9 oral pill, and that's going to come out of the marketplace. And I think it's going to...
I find the timing of this, I'm sorry to interrupt. I find the timing of this very, very interesting and maybe a little suspicious. Because lately, over the past several months, I've been seeing a lot of LPA results on blood tests being higher than I've ever seen before, or in more people than I've seen in the past.
There's an old adage, which is like, find a bug, use a drug. And once you have identified a factor like who cares about LP little a unless there's a blockbuster pharmaceutical drug looming that's going to tackle it. The same thing, here's another example, is this thing called SIBO. We were talking about SIBO for, decades. And then all of a sudden, SIBO became a thing because they came up with a drug, rifaximin, which is supposed to help SIBO and help irritable bowel patients. And then it became like mainstream, Yeah.
Yeah, that is something. And the other interesting thing about lipoprotein little a, although the jury is still a little out, you and I have talked about this, is that it's pretty much genetic.
Yeah.
However, there has been some association with that number changing or going down with a much lower carbohydrate diet versus a Mediterranean diet.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So
also,
that's something interesting to watch, actually.
I think estrogen, testosterone, and even thyroid medication can help lower it. But hey, look, it's going to be important because there's some people who have sky-high LPA. Yeah. And if this is something that should be tested at least once on everyone. And the reason for that is that, unlike cholesterol, it's not going to respond to exercise, diet, lifestyle.
Right.
It will respond to medication. So just establish what is your baseline LPA. And if it's like over 100, well, you're going to be at higher risk.
Pretty standard testing. I think they look for under 75.
Better yet.
Better yet. Another important marker being homocysteine,
right?
Which you take B vitamins for, and trimethylglycine.
Yeah, there's no money in that. That's just take a B vitamin from a health food store. The pharmaceutical industry is not going to get rich from that.
They're not going to get.
Okay. Are we being a little cynical about this? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
All right, good stuff. When we return, we're going to tackle some more of your questions. Remember, questions come to questions@drhoffman.net if you're confronted with a kind of a medical conundrum. And, we don't want like, a 5-page dissertation on your medical problem. You could just make it
Don't send us your labs.
A discrete, like, here's my entire, lab dump. Could you please analyze this and tell me what to do? That's what's called a consultation. Absolutely. And you would be well advised to get a consultation from an expert medical nutritionist and for a personalized nutrition solution. But if you got a discrete question like this question was a perfect example, send it to us. Or if you got a comment, maybe you tried this or that or the other thing and you want to share with our audience something, questions@drhoffman.net. All right, when we return, give us a preview what we're going to tackle in part 2.
Yeah, I'm a 79-year-old woman with an LDL of 532.
An LDL of 532?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Oh, that's a total cholesterol of 532. Sorry. And I'll break down the numbers when we get there.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Well, that's bad. That's bad enough.
That's bad. Right?
Okay. When we return, I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast.